Thought of using Mr. Bean for a babysitter? Find out what he's like at 8 o'clock. Then Whitney Houston stars in the Friday night movie, Waiting to Exhale.
Tonight in Prime Local News, a funeral service for murdered Nara taxi driver Kevin Lester. A former Centrelink employee appears in court charged with fraud. And the Teachers Federation considers further industrial action. Good evening. Also tonight, a police hunt for a knife-wielding bandit following the robbery of a service station at Wollongong. The Illawarra diggers home to receive a $1 million facelift, and we check out what's happening over the weekend in Prime Weekend. But first, more than 500 people have turned out to pay their last respects to murdered Nara taxi driver Kevin Lester. As family and friends said goodbye, police were canvassing Nara's CBD in the hunt for clues. The Baptist Church in Nara was packed as 550 mourners, including police, attended the funeral of murdered taxi driver Kevin Lester. The 55-year-old died from a single stab wound to the chest. His body discovered at Thompson's Point, 2 kilometres from his burnt-out cab a week ago. Among 7 people to deliver eulogies, Mr Lester's son-in-law, Mark Edwards, who spoke on behalf of Kevin's children.
We will miss him so very much. We couldn't have wished for a better father. He was the best.
Colleagues also paid tribute to the grandfather of 2.
Kevin was a gentleman that saw good where others would see bad. He was a man that showed love and generosity where others may have cursed and have been very selfish. He was kind and he was thoughtful, even when the chips were down. Kevin was one of the most positive people I've ever met.
Mr Lester's coffin was escorted by fellow Nara taxi drivers. He was laid to rest at Nara's Lawn Cemetery. As family and friends paid their last respects, police set up this clothing stand outside Nara Fair Shopping Centre. They're hoping to jolt the memory of locals who may know the identity of a man dressed in camouflage clothing who was seen talking to Mr Lester at around 12:30 p.m. last Friday.
He's described as being in his late teens, early 20s, lean type of build, and he was sort of dressed sloppily. He was seen to talk to the driver in the cab and then got into the rear seat, and the taxi drove off, and that was the last time that anyone has seen Mr Lester alive.
Anyone with information should contact Nara Police. A former Centrelink worker has faced Wollongong local court on allegations she transferred taxpayers' dollars into her personal family payment account. The woman denies the claims, saying she's been set up.
Former Centrelink worker Kathleen Mary Bowkett has been summoned with making a false representation. It's alleged she used a workmate's computer access and terminal to try and transfer $1,900 into her personal family payment account. But the mother of 3 claims she's been set up, that someone at Centrelink was out to get her, and that she contacted a manager when she realised someone had accessed her personal file. In a letter handed to Magistrate William Bryden, she said, "A crime on my part has not been committed. I know in my heart and soul I've not attempted to obtain any funds in which I am not entitled." She's since resigned from her position as a customer service officer and has told the court that since the summons she's suffered considerable trauma and stress. An adjournment has been granted to enable her to seek legal advice, and she'll face court again next month. Jodie Duffy, Prime Local News.
Police are investigating yet another armed robbery in Wollongong, the latest target a 24-hour service station on Crown Street. The offender entered the BP service station at 3 this morning, manning the counter a lone employee who was threatened with a long-bladed knife. Initially, the man made his escape on foot. Police are also investigating reports that a dark blue Commodore was in the area at the time of the robbery. Police searched the area for clues, finding what they believe may be evidence on the footpath outside a neighbouring business. Anyone with information should contact Wollongong detectives. The Teachers' Federation hasn't ruled out the possibility of further strike action next week as its long-running dispute with the government continues. The Federation's council, made up of more than 300 teachers from throughout New South Wales, will meet in Sydney tomorrow. The teachers will vote on a recommendation regarding the negotiation of a new award. The Teachers' Federation says its award expired in June this year, and attempts to talk to the government have fallen on deaf ears for almost 12 months. Physical education teachers have temporarily hung up their sneakers and taken to the books. A special workshop in Wollongong today outlining significant changes to the HSC syllabus.
From next year's subject syllabus changes will be across the board, and already teachers have begun familiarising themselves. Less emphasis is being placed on exam results for the HSC. The focus now for those teaching personal development, health and physical education on understanding context and critical analysis.
Research type skills, critical inquiry skills, the skills to apply knowledge to different situations. So it's not just a remembering of the knowledge so you can write it on a piece of paper in an exam, it's teaching them the skills that they can actually apply to life.
Drug education and HIV/AIDS, just some of the topics covered by the revamped PD Health PE course. New teaching methods may be a little hard to grasp, but can prove invaluable when it comes to students' overall performance standards.
It probably is hard to change the ways that you're used to teaching, but no, it's a bit of a challenge, but it's an interesting challenge, and I think that teachers can see the benefits in it, so they're prepared to take the challenge.
The PD Health PE syllabus changes will affect next year's Year 11 students, with more than 200 teachers across New South Wales brushing up on the course in Wollongong over the next 2 days. Sally Moore, Prime Local News.
Vandalism and arson have sadly become common sights in Illawarra schools. Announced today a special security fencing program aimed at keeping offenders out and schools safe.
Workmen were at Baltovska Public School this morning repairing roof tiles, smashed during the latest vandalism attack. Baltovska isn't the only victim. Public schools throughout the Illawarra have fallen prey to arsonists and vandals. Today, an announcement that $110,000 will be spent on security fencing.
To repair or replace or install new fencing. It's all about making sure that schools in this part of the state get their fair share of resources.
At many schools, the fencing will provide perimeter security and will work in conjunction with internal alarm systems.
You don't like to fence a school, you feel that it should be an open area for everybody to use, but given the problems that we've had, we've come to this stage that's what's become necessary.
It's hoped the fencing will deter would-be intruders and allow the schools to get on with the business of educating.
Rather than counselling them about fire or some other damage over the weekend.
Chris Ricky, Prime Local News.
Coming up after the break in Prime Local News, a new report critical of the federal government's industrial relations legislation and a $1 million upgrade for the Diggers retirement home at Corrimal. Welcome back. An Australian research body has released new data critical of the federal government's workplace relations legislation. The information has revealed employees are better off under union negotiated agreements.
The information was compiled by the Australian Centre for Industrial Relations Research and Training. Known as the ADAM report, the information provides a comparison between union certified agreements and Australian workplace agreements, also known as individual contracts. The results, workers under union negotiated collective agreements are allegedly better off.
The study confirms that union negotiated collective agreements give wage increases 25% above what can be achieved through Australian workplace agreements. So workers that are forced onto individual contracts end up much worse in terms of wages than those workers who bargain collectively.
According to the Australian Workers' Union, the results should act as a wake-up call, not just to the government but to every Australian worker.
I think as more and more people in the community become aware of the industrial relations changes proposed by the federal government, that there will be a stronger interest in union membership. There will be people joining up unions for protection, for job security and for better wages outcomes.
Meanwhile, yesterday's National Steel Delegates meeting in Wollongong has wrapped up with the unions endorsing a national campaign to ensure security of employment for all BHP workers, the intervention of the federal and state government to help maintain the steel industry and the protection of employment conditions. Chris Ricky, Prime Local News.
Women will soon be allowed to take up residency in one of the region's most respected all-male homes. Sally Moore reports.
It's It's good news for the retirement hostel, which has had a proud tradition in the region of housing our returned ex-servicemen from World War II. Having been at the Corrimal site for 20 years, the building has started to show signs of disrepair.
Urgent repair in some areas, and for service to current and future residents, we need to have the home re-renovated.
A $964,000 grant from the federal government ensuring the Illawarra Diggers Home meets requirements under the Aged Care Act.
Government has implemented quite an extensive program of accreditation so that in order to stay open, in order to provide facilities for our ageing Australians, they've got to come up to accepted standards.
The multi-million-dollar makeover will see the 64 men joined by ex-service women and war widows. Refurbishment should begin early next year. Sally Moore, Prime Local News.
Illawarra business is enjoying the best trade figures in a decade, and the word from Iris is that things are set to get better.
Improved trading, profitability and great employment conditions. At present, the Illawarra has it all. In fact, businesses have not had it this good in quite a while.
Well, it appears that overall we're now facing the most buoyant 3-month period in business conditions in the Illawarra we've really seen since 1985, and probably, if things continue the way that they're expected to, probably this decade.
Credit for the improvement can be placed squarely on the shoulders of a recently diversified business community. Now gone are the days when the manufacturing sector dominated the local economy. The question now on everyone's lips is how long will it last? Iris says the good times are with us well into the new millennium.
I think as long as Australia continues to hold its position in the world, the Illawarra will continue on this upward curve. Clearly, everything is cyclical, but it will be well into next year before we see any break in the upward movement.
Chris Ricky, Prime Local News.
Still to come in Prime Local News, we find out what's happening over the weekend in Prime Weekend. But first with sport, here's Andrew Martin.
Thanks, Anita. Coming up after the break, all the late mail for tomorrow's Rich Cox Plate, and Sean Timmins ready for his international debut.
JOCKS Tips, brought to you by Sydney Sports Tab. So let's play.
Good evening. St George Illawarra star Sean Timmins makes his international debut tonight when he takes the field for Australia against Great Britain in Brisbane.
It's been a rapid rise to the international stage for Sean Timmins. Just 24 hours after playing in the Dragons' losing grand final side, the 23-year-old was a surprise selection in the 20-man Australian Tri-Series squad. And while he missed last week's game against New Zealand...
At the start of the tour, Chris said everyone's going to get a game out of the 2 games, so I was sort of hopeful of a game, but when he said I'll start, and I was very happy to hear that, and yeah, I can't wait.
Timmins will start the match alongside Matthew Gidley in the centres and says he's ready for the biggest thrill of his life.
Yeah, it is a great thrill. I haven't played any senior rep football yet, so this is my first game, and hopefully I'll make the most of it and have a good game.
Timmins' inclusion is one of several changes to the side, beaten by the Kiwis at Ericsson Stadium. Amongst the changes, Darren Lockyer replacing Robbie Ross at fullback, and Brad Fittler switching to lock with Andrew Johns, the new 5'8".
We're searching for a combination here, and we think we're doing the right thing. The proof will be in the pudding.
Kick-off tonight at Suncorp Stadium at 7:30.
Wollongong Hawks will be desperate to hit back after Wednesday's loss to the Titans when they play host to Canberra tomorrow night. While the Cannons are 0-4 this season, the Hawks are expecting a tough match, which could be decided in the battle between Melvin Thomas and Clayton Ritter.
Ritter is a former Hawks captain, Thomas a former Cannon star. Tomorrow night the pair will go head-to-head for their new clubs.
Well, that seemed to be the scenario. Me and Clayton always get matched up against one another, and I'm just going to try to play them hard, like I've been doing to everyone else.
Melvin's a good player, and so far from what I've seen from his statistics, he's having a good year. And I think he fits in pretty well with that club, and I fit in pretty well here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but it's not Melvin against Clayton, it's Cannons against the Hawks, so we're hoping to get a win.
Another who'll be lining up against his old club is Mike Mackay.
Oh, there's always that little bit of added incentive there, but I think if you get carried away with that and sort of concentrate and focus on that too much, it takes it away from your game. So there's that added incentive, but you just treat it as another game and you want to get that victory.
The Hawks are coming off a 13-point loss to the Titans and are 1-2 for the year. The Cannons are 0-4. Tip-off tomorrow night at 7:30. Mark Hansen, Prime Local News.
Wollongong Wolves faced the daunting task of turning around a 4-0 loss when they line up for the second time in a week against Sydney Olympic on Sunday.
We've looked at it on video and we've seen where we're falling down, and the main place that we are falling down is the commitment we showed in tackles. They are a lot more hungrier to win the 50-50 balls, and the 2 games previously to that, you know, we had battled hard. So basically we're going to be very physical against them and hopefully come away with the 3 points.
The prestigious Commonwealth Bank Cycling Classic gets underway tomorrow in Sydney, with Fig Tree's Jonathan Hall lining up as one of the race favourites.
The Commonwealth Bank Classic has matured into Australia's greatest road race in recent years, and this year's field is testimony to that.
Classic this year is very hard. You know, it's got a bit of everything: criteriums, flat stages, windy stages, mountain stages, and a time trial. And on top of that, you've got probably the classiest field they've had in a lot of years. There's 11 international teams and 4 Australian teams, and with that amount of international riders, there's a lot of class there.
And Hall's name is certainly near the top of the list. A former world duathlon champion, the 26-year-old has since stamped himself as an international class cyclist. His form earning him a spot in the prestigious Festina team and winning him 2 national titles. But the 1999 season has been a frustrating one for Hall, who now says after injury he's right back to his best.
Without a doubt, the form's just been coming up gradually all the time, and it's a shame that it's the end of the season. But for the Classic, it's ideal. I mean, I'm going to have good form this week, and you know, it's just a shame that after the Classic I won't have any racing to do, but you know, it puts me in good motivation for next season as well.
The Classic will be broadcast in 140 countries and incorporates 16 stages ending in Canberra on Sunday week. Today week it will be in Wollongong.
The mountain stage in Wollongong is the hardest stage of the tour, with the climb up Jamboree Pass and then the climb up Camberwara Mountain before descending into Nowra. You know, the climbs aren't super long but super steep, you know, and the Europeans will be in for a real shock.
The event starts tomorrow at Hurstville in Sydney.
It's Cox Plate Day tomorrow at Moonee Valley in Melbourne, while locally Kembla Grange is playing host to an 8-race card with the first set down for 1:45. With all the weekend late mail, here's Alan Jokaloglu.
The Cox Plate is only won by top quality thoroughbreds, as evidenced in recent years. Might and Power, Saintly, Octagonal, and tomorrow afternoon, one serious racehorse called Redute's Choice is my tip. He won the Caulfield Guineas courageously. He's as game as Ned Kelly. Melbourne Cup winning jockey, Chris Muntz in the saddle, and 48.5 kilos to carry around the valley, where he has already won. The Dangers, Northern Drake, has returned to form, but remember, he did run second in the Cox Plate to the champion Might and Power, and for third, that bold front-running mare, Sunline, if allowed to dictate terms, will take a power of running down. My Cox Plate tips: first, Redute's Choice; second, Northern Drake; and third, Sunline. Racing at Canterbury tomorrow, one of the bets of the day, even though it'll be a short price, is Sparks. Super impressive, winning the Breeders' Plate on debut. Tomorrow afternoon, Epsom winning jockey John Marshall takes a ride. He's the one to put the wagers on. Race 2, number 1, Sparks. Promising rider Andrew Gibbons has recently returned to Broadmeadow, but tomorrow he heads south to Kembla to ride the Max Lees trained Akamaya. Terrific effort last start, rattled home to run third. Tomorrow's distance is ideal. Race 5 at Kembla, number 2, Akamaya. Until next week, good luck and good punting.
And that's all in sport tonight. Have a great weekend, Anita.
Thanks, Andrew. The latest weather details are coming up next, and then our weekend diary of events, Prime Weekend.
This Prime Weather Report is proudly brought to you by Westfield Shopping Towns, Fig Tree and Warrawong.
Well, another beautiful spring day in Wollongong. The temperature outside now still around 22 degrees, 11 in Eden. Around the region, the temperature dropped to 9 in Goulburn overnight and reached a high of 29 in Wollongong. Further south, it got down to 7 in Bega and Merimbula and reached a high of 27 in Ulladulla. And the Bureau says we're in for rain again this weekend. The forecast for the Illawarra: a cool day Saturday, cloudy with showers increasing to rain. The outlook: rain again on Sunday, showers on Monday and Tuesday. On the Highlands, cloudy periods with rain developing in the afternoon. The outlook: rain periods on Sunday, fine on Monday with showers on Tuesday. And on the south coast, a cold day with cloudy periods and some showers, increasing to rain in the afternoon. Tomorrow's temperatures: Wollongong 13 to 18, 11 to 17 in Nowra, Goulburn 8 to 15, the same in Bega. Boating conditions tomorrow: southeast winds at up to 30 knots with seas rising to 3 metres. And the tides: there's a high at 1/4 6:45 tomorrow morning, the low at 10 to 1 in the afternoon. And finally, time to take a look at what's on in this week's edition of Prime Weekend.
Hi, I'm Tracy Bright. Welcome to Prime Weekend. International Year of the Older Persons. Head to Maruya Racecourse tomorrow for a gala family day from 10 until 3. There'll be plenty of entertainment with food and market stalls and a monster raffle. Meantime, the Shoalhaven Spring Festival culminates tomorrow with a grand parade. The extravaganza starts from 12 noon at Harry Sawkins Park, winding its way to Nowra Showground. The third annual Opera in the Valley concerts will be held in the Jamboree Municipal Hall tonight and tomorrow. Tickets are $30 and are available from the Kiama Visitors Centre. On the pub and club scene, Sydney Rockers Black Label will play the Commercial Hotel tonight. Jazz ensemble Short and Horny are at the Collegian City on Sunday, while the Sussex Bowling Club is playing host to a ladies' show from the Men of Body Heat tomorrow night. For all you romantics, why not catch one of the best movies ever made? The Regent Theatre in Wollongong is showing Gone with the Wind from 2:30 on Sunday. At Theatre South, Emily Jane opened last night. From the same writer that brought you Windy Gully, Emily Jane runs at the Bridge Theatre until November 6. Tickets are available at the theatre. The Marimbula Country Music Festival by the Sea is on this weekend. There'll be special appearances by the Kernigan family, and the festival will include a country music talent quest. And finally, Fig Tree Primary School on Gibsons Road is holding a fete tomorrow from 11 until 3, while Pleasant Heights School at Fairy Meadow is holding a monster garage sale and market day from 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Well, that's it from me this Friday. I'll see you next week with another Prime Weekend. Remember, you can have your details included in a future edition if you write to me at Prime Television, care of Post Office Box 777 Berkeley 2506.
Now, recapping tonight's top stories in Prime Local News, a funeral service has been held today for murdered Nowra taxi driver Kevin Lester. Meantime, police have set up a display at the Nowra Fair shopping centre as they seek clues to the killing. And an Australian research body has released a report which is highly critical of the federal government's industrial relations legislation. And tonight we leave you with the week that was.